Good morning and welcome to Festival of the Future 2022. We're here at Kingston Maurward to take a look at what's happening around the community of Dorchester and to talk about all things countryside. So hello to everyone who's joining us. My name is Matt Prosser. I'm the Chief Executive of Dorset Council and I'm joined here this morning by Luke Rake, who is the Principal of Kingston Maurward, and thank you to your team for making this site look so beautiful and booking the weather, and also Sam McLaren from Digital Dorset. So what a beautiful location to kick off the festival. I can't wait to see what the team has cooked up for this year. But first, let me talk a little bit about the festival itself. Last year, we experimented with a hybrid approach, live streaming to virtual attendees whilst having an audience in person. Give us a cheer, audience. Good. We've been practicing that for the last half an hour. And I'm happy to say that this approach, whilst experimental, worked very, very well. We've got some great feedback from the in-person and virtual attendees, and we're back this year to see if we can improve on some of the lessons learned. This is, I say, the second year, but this idea of hybrid working and hybrid events has really taken off. But there is still at Digital Dorset, we believe it's all about taking that step outside the box and taking some risks. But even if there is a hiccup, we will learn from what went wrong and do better next time. That's the way with digital. Now, enough monologuing from me. Let's give an overview of the week and jump onto the reason you're here. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks, Matt. So, all being well, we've got 5 themes over the week. So today is talking about being outside, countryside, and agriculture. Tomorrow, we're at Ferndown, where we're going to be exploring around the future of education. Wednesday, we're at Winfrith Innovation Park. We're going to be looking at careers in digital and the future workplace. And then on Thursday, we're in Bridport, talking about getting people online. And on Friday, finally, we're going to be talking about connected place in Weymouth. So we've got some great guests. We've got some great things to showcase and talk about. And we're surrounded by some interesting things. So I think let's first start today with a show and tell. Great. So surrounded by lots of interesting things, we've got some students from Kingston Maurward here. Can you tell us a little bit about some of these machinery?
Yeah, we have, first up, the Blue Tractor is a new innovation in agriculture, which is a methane-powered tractor, looking at possible fuel sources other than fossil fuels. Then we have a display of tractors that we use here on a daily basis with students at Kingston Maurward. And we have a variety of manufacturers as well to give the students an experience of different types of machinery. And these 2 machines here, the red one and the white one, they're with GPS and auto steer systems. So we teach the students to use those guidance systems, and the tractors can drive themselves across the field when we do field work at certain times of the year.
So is there any students who want to talk about their experience?
So where I work, we use GPS and auto steer for application of most products. So I drill it in that, so we get variable seed rates. Mainly as well with adding all our fertilizers and everything. So even application for mainly stuff with leaching and that. Make sure we don't, especially this year with like costs being so high, we don't have to spend as much to get as much out of the product as possible.
And I believe we've got some experts to talk about the methane tractor. If you wanted to come down into shot, come on down. Good morning. Morning. Thank you. So what are the benefits of using? Out of shot. There we go. So what are the benefits of using methane instead of other fuels?
So with the methane tractor, what we're able to do is...
No, I was just checking it was on.
What we're able to do is we're able to fuel it a couple of different ways. So the third way is actually we can cover a slurry pit on an existing farm. We can harvest the gas, which will be the fugitive methane that will be coming off the top of it. We then scrub it, so clean it, compress it, and then put it into the tank of this tractor, and it drives like a diesel tractor. There's no loss of power or torque compared to a standard diesel.
So it's much more eco-friendly than
Massively,
using other
yes.
fuels.
Yes.
Is there an expense to that? Is it more expensive than other tractors, or is that just the current kind of market?
Yeah, no, it is. It would be 20-25% more than the diesel equivalent. But if you actually are making your gas from your waste product, there's huge fuel savings to be made, so that cost will be recuperated fairly quickly. And another big advantage is if, say for instance, if the tractor's being fueled by AD gas, it could be up to 80% less emissions than the current modern diesel, or even more compared to an older diesel.
Okay, so is this something that's regularly available? Is this quite a new piece of machinery?
We've been working on it quite a few years. This tractor here rolled only off the production line last week. It's a full production spec machine, and you can buy one today.
Great. Well, thanks for giving some insight into this. Is there any kind of reason behind the bright blue? Is that just style?
Our standard corporate colour is the T5 there. It goes back to the heritage of the Ford days.
Oh, thanks for coming. Is there any come over about the experience of agritech and some of the things they've been doing on their course? They all sheepishly back away.
Thanks. So we've got a few students here who are studying at the college. So we're just going to ask them their experience. Obviously, we have a range of tractors here. Principal, it's our responsibility to make sure it's as good as possible for them. So if you just want to tell us a little bit about the things you've been doing, we'll go a bit closer because of the microphone. There we go. So just talk us through the course you're doing and the sort of experience you've had.
Well, we're on second year level 3 agriculture, and we've been doing field work such as disking, muck spreading, drilling, and also we've been dehorning calves last week, and I think we're doing that this afternoon as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and so level 3, for those who are watching online, level 3 technical is the same as A level. So it's the same equivalent. So these students could either go to university or straight into work. So what are you planning to do when you finish this year?
I'm hoping to go straight into work and then go travelling to New Zealand afterwards.
Awesome. Right, thanks very much. And your experience?
Yeah, I'm in the same course as Tristan here. And yeah, I've enjoyed using different technologies such as a GPS and stuff, because I come from a farm that doesn't have them, so it's been interesting to use it and seeing how farming is developing this way and how it affects costs and inputs from farming. Yeah, I've enjoyed it so far, so yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. So we'll go over to Atlas now. We'll pass the mic over to Matt.
Great stuff. Thanks very much indeed, Luke, and to the students. So we're going to talk to the guys from Intrepid Minds about the tractor, and as if by magic, the autonomous tractor is going to follow us over here. Come on. Come on. It's nearly as responsive as my new Labrador. Come on. Less responsive. No, it's working. It's working. So I'm here with Callum. We're just going to get the tech to walk over. So this is an autonomous tractor. So what are the benefits of having something like Atlas?
So the benefits of an autonomous tractor are clearly that you have reduced labour costs for increased productivity. You can spend longer working without the need for food, water, all those pesky things that get in the way of making money, I guess. It's sounding really utilitarian when I say it like that, isn't it? No, so the main benefits are clearly, as you just outlined, you can keep it working while you're not, essentially, meaning the farmer has an easier life and a better life.
Great stuff. I see you've also got a drone on top of the tractor. That's not just for show, is it? What's that for?
No, so that's a striker drone. That is for anything from land surveying to crop analysis, right through to spot spraying as well. So this drone is fitted with centrifugal nozzles, can spray a 1 meter squared area, and it can last for about 30 to 45 minutes flight time. So you can cover a large area with this quite easily. It can carry about an 8 litre tank as well, so it can spray a sizable amount of fluid as it stands.
Brilliant. We're going to just walk a bit further forward. I don't know whether the Atlas is going to follow us any further forwards. And we're going to face this way into the camera. Countryfile, eat your heart out. Good stuff. Excellent. So what, are any of these in production? This is prototype. What's going?
So this is the early prototype. We're expecting to reach production by the start of 2023. We're hoping to launch our brand Willis, and yeah, Atlas is the tractor, Strike is the drone.
Great stuff. Good stuff. Right, I've lost Sam. Where is Sam doing? Sam is going to be talking to, I think Sam's going to be talking to Brian in a second. Over to you, Sam.
Thanks, Matt. Oh, it's cutting out. I'll make sure I face the camera because that seems to be an issue this morning. Brian, are you here? Got caught up doing class because he'd say he might not be able to make it. Okay, so let's skip straight across and then you can speak to Steph then, Matt.
Brilliant, great stuff. Thanks very much indeed. Well, I'm going to go and talk to Steph. Steph is coming towards me now. Good stuff. Hi, Steph. So we're going to listen to nature, to stepping into it. So I'm joined by Steph, who's going to talk a little bit about Stepping into Nature project. Welcome, Steph.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So I had a little bit of a presentation on this screen as well that we had to set up. But I can talk whilst that gets set up as well if the audience wanted to be able to see the screen, because that's quite an important bit of it. But yeah, so to start things off, obviously Dorset is an incredible place to live. We have amazing places like this. And it's particularly rich for its kind of wildlife, its history, its culture. And it's been discussed a lot over the last few years that nature can have a profound impact on our health and well-being. It can reduce stress, improve immune functioning, and decrease recovery times. Thank you. So for many, however, it's not easy to access nature and get those health and well-being benefits. Such as those with kind of long-term health conditions. That's not the right slide. It's the Stepping into Nature project. Well, I can talk about a football match, but I don't know much about that. Yeah, so nature is great for you. We all know that. So let's try and get into nature in any ways that we can. But for some, that can be an incredibly difficult thing to do, such as those living with long-term health conditions, carers, that's the one. Thank you. So let's try and find ways to do that. So the Stepping into Nature project comes in, and we are a Dorset Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty project funded by the lottery. And we provide support for activity providers to create activities that are more suitable for that audience. So we might run dementia awareness training so the activity providers understand what dementia is, can see the symptoms and understand how to support them if they're coming along to activities. We provide small pots of funding to community groups and organisations to make those green spaces more accessible for them, help them promote them and increase the use of them as well. For others, digital technology is more the way forward to help bring nature inside for them. And that's where Picnic in the Parks comes along, which you can see going through on the screen there. And for those that can't get outside, bringing nature in is the way for them. So Picnic in the Parks follows on from a popular event we used to run across parks across Dorset, where we invited community groups, organisations that helped people to get outdoors along to these, so people could get a bit of a teaser for what sort of things they do. But Picnic in the Parks came along, and then COVID came along. So that stopped all those events. So instead, we've created this Picnic in the Parks website, which is full of different ways for people to live well and love nature. There's lots of different activities on there. So at the moment, it's going through Discovery Wood. So this is one of the zones. There's 6 zones on there, all kind of nature, Dorset inspired. there's the different range, so you can go geocaching, you can explore using trampers, there's tips on sea swimming. At the moment it's going into Walk Dorset's history. So here we've created guides that take you around different places in Dorset, and we use old postcard photos of places in Dorset and get people comparing the differences, standing in the spot that that postcard was taken, say 100 years ago, and just playing spot the difference. Then if we go into another zone, so here you can see we're going into Creativity River. So you come onto this, then you can scroll down and see the various different activities on offer. And then we can pop into, so we're going into Your Seasons of Stories, which is a project we worked on with poets and storytellers and artists, create this box of activities. Then you can see you've got activity cards, activity tools, videos, all around helping you to connect to nature, but through poetry, storytelling, and art. And you can request a box for free via the post just by clicking on that link. And then you can go back to the map. And we'll do one more zone. What are we going to go into next? So we're going into Inspiration Hill. Then we can scroll down. Again, you can see the various different, so you've got wildlife webcams across Dorset. You've got Tales of Dorset by a storyteller in Dorset. You've got a Seasons of Stories autumn book, which again was working with storytellers and poets to create this autumnal book, which you can go through. Again, you can request this via the post, so you can have a lovely seasonal book that can help you have creative conversations with loved ones or friends, just to bring nature into their world in another way. And you can see loads of the beautiful imagery on there. But I'll leave it there.
Brilliant, Steph. That's really, really good. And hopefully there'll be some questions for you at the end. We're going to bring you into the panel. But I'm going to go back to Sam now, who's found Brian.
Yep, thanks, Matt. I found a wild Brian roaming around the field, so I'll bring him in. Matt, if you want to hand your mic over.
Thank you very much.
Let me just get back to where I was. So, sorry, come and face the camera.
Okay.
So, sound isn't just about having the best setup to watch shows like House of the Dragon. Sound creates a richness and an immersiveness to the environment. So I'm here with Brian from Kingston Maurward. He's going to talk a little bit more about the power of sound. So Brian, over to you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm sorry, my back's going to be to you. So my name's Brian. I've been lecturing here at Kingston Maurward for about a year now, originally moving from Hainsbury Head on BCB Council. I wanted to move here to create the best course for ecology within the country. And in June this year, the Chartered Institute gave the course the University Programme of the Year, which is lovely. I'm setting the scene for what I'm coming to, which is essentially the reason why we got the award was because of the extra value that we put into the curriculum. And largely that revolves around bringing guest speakers in who are based in Dorset and regionally in order to tell students about how they do their jobs, how they got into their jobs, and what projects they're undertaking, which are really exciting and innovative. The field trips in particular around Dorset were the things that captured the students' imagination the most. So Dorset is an absolutely fantastic place for wildlife and biodiversity. The habitats and features that we have here lend themselves really well to this college and this county being the centre for ecological teaching and learning in the UK. If we think about the Jurassic Coast, which is taught about globally for its interesting habitats and features, if we think about Dorset Heathlands, which is protected internationally, we have around 20% of the European total global heathland habitat here in the UK. 90% of chalk streams are found in the UK, with the other 10% being in France. So the college is well positioned to teach about the breadth of projects going on. What we found is the students who were coming to college on a desire to do more for the environment, largely because they're exposed to news which is quite negative about the climate. There's not really, when you turn on your TV, many good news stories about the climate and biodiversity. And while we don't want students to be naive, we also wanted to show them the positive elements that are going on and how they could bring their own elements into, on an individual scale, on a site scale, and on a county scale, how to improve biodiversity. So when we about how those students really improved their positivity around wildlife as a basis of visiting these sites, I started to think about how we could spread that out to people, how we can get people feeling better about wildlife and seeing a positive route forward to its restoration. Now, interpretive experts have linked our senses to be able to make a connection with things, so sight, sound, hearing, smell, and taste. But if you're thinking about how to get people more connected to a water vole project, for example, you can't really get them to taste water voles. It's not very pleasant to get them to smell them. We could show them a photo of a water vole, but there's not really much connection there. But we can play the sound of what it sounds like in those habitats to have those animals present. And it effectively takes us through to what is a syndrome that we suffer today, which is shifting baselines. Arguably, what you and I might have known growing up has been lost, or it was lost before us. I asked my class students this morning how many of them heard swifts flying over their houses growing up, and not one of them raised a hand. But yet we've lost them from the environment. The students don't care about the swifts because they don't know about the swifts. If you put that out onto a population basis, arguably are people going to care about things that have been lost to the environment but they never knew of? So how do we get that experience into them? And we decided the sound was probably the best way. We're going to play the video.
Yeah, I was going to say if you've got any setup, otherwise we'll roll VT.
Yep, so this is a video that my student made about the project in order to give a better understanding of what we're trying to do. So.
Kevin? Just look out to go to you.
In a nutshell, the video shows a project that we aim to do here at Kingston Maurward that allows that experience from all these different projects and sites around Dorset to be brought to a much wider audience. People standing in front of the main house here could put headphones on and hear storks on the top of Nep and what that sound would be like. They can stand in front of the lake here at Kingston Maurward and hear the beavers slapping their tail that's been recorded live down at the reintroduction site in West Dorset. We really aim to make people care about the aspects of the environment that we want bringing back by connecting them to it. And it's only through some sort of first-hand experience that we can do that. So the project funding is in. We're expecting a decision on that for next month. If it happens, then we'll be involving students, just the same as Viv, who worked on this video, in the conception and delivery of this trail in order to make it as accessible, as broad-reaching, and as relevant as possible to where we are in the environment today. Thank you.
Great, thanks for that, Brian. It's really interesting insights into sound and nature. So now we'd whilst we're outside, we're just going to go into a bit of a Q&A with everyone we've got here. Anything that we've talked about so far. Does anyone in the audience, or the virtual audience, have any questions they want to ask at this stage? So you might have to come forward so the mic doesn't cut.
I'm running.
Matt's running.
So I run today.
Is that coming through? It's not. It might be on. Is it on mute? Oh, we might have more this way. So everyone gather.
So the question ostensibly was, can we get a little bit more detail about the autonomous vehicle and exactly what it could be doing? So Callum, I think your microphone's still working. Can you give us any more details or applications that you might use for the autonomous tractor? And of course, it might not just be in an agricultural setting.
Yeah, you're 100% right. So obviously an autonomous tractor, autonomous platform as we like to call it, can do any number of jobs. So one of the things it can do is deploy the larger drone UAVs to do any particular job around the farm. It can act as a local base station, charging point for those smaller drones. It can also, we plan for it to have a 3-point hitch attached to it, so you can use it to towing any of your other agricultural equipment, harvesters, towers, plows, anything like that.
So conceivably, you could be in the field in your tractor, you've got the wrong attachment, and you send it and it brings it out to you.
You wouldn't even need to be at the field. You could say, okay, I don't want it to have this attachment anymore. As long as there is a stored position of known attachments for the tractor, it can go and do everything by itself. We plan out our routes by first mapping a farm or area. We like to call it land management because we're not just looking at farms, we're looking at the wider estate that is owned by the client. And then using that to come up with the best possible package that will allow them to maximize the profits in their land. So it's not just what the autonomous platform can do, but what the autonomous ecosystem can do for the estate.
Right, okay, mind blown.
I have a question linking on from that. What's the logic behind the design? Is it aerodynamic or?
Well, we went for a men's razor, in case. No, I'm only joking. We went for a design ethos that is mainly big boys want to play with big toys. If it looks cool, it's kind of going to sell, and obviously looks is secondary to what the platform can do anyway. So we might as well make it look cool because that keeps us interested.
Feel about sticking some racing stripes on the front?
If you want racing stripes on your Sam, I can give it to you.
Does anyone else have anything they want to ask?
There's a question over here. So, Steve Bufton from the LEP.
Hi, I was just wondering, why would we be training to drive tractors if we're going to be doing this in the future and having autonomous vehicles in the future? I was going to ask actually that of Luke.
Cue Luke. Come to the camera, Luke.
Oh, it's a bit of a show and tell, isn't it? So one of the things that we do at the college is we obviously train students in a range of tech. So we've been working with Intrepid Minds. One of the things about the college is that it's a 750-acre estate, but it's also a 750-acre lab. We can test stuff. Now, the reality is that this is the future, but it's not the present. And so what we need to do with our students here, who are looking very attractive behind me, are training them up to do a whole range of things. Now, we're going to be talking later on this morning about software and about the ecosystem, the Internet of Things, and how you connect data. But that, for example, in a dairy industry, doesn't take away from husbandry. Just the general skill of knowing your animals and knowing how to manage the land and the areas that you've got. So yes, Cecilia, it's a great question. We want to train students in all these things so that wherever they go, whatever the farm or the land environment they're working in, they can add real value.
Brilliantly, that's really good. So equipping your students for the future, as you say, this is not necessarily the present. This is about being equipped for the future, and it's tech for good in that respect. Sam?
I think linking on from that, it would be nice if one of the volunteer themselves to talk about what they think the future of the sector might look like as a nice comparison. And again, they all look sheepish at me.
Future of farming, lads. I'm walking slowly, looking for an outstretched hand to take the microphone. No, this microphone won't stretch. You're going to have to walk to me.
You can all come down as a group if you want.
Come as a group. Come and talk to us about what you think the future of farming is like. You know what it's like now. What's it going to be like in 20 years?
Well, personally, I think the way farming's going at the moment is very good. Like the technology, what's coming out is very impressive to what we've got now. We've gone from, 20 years ago, basic tractors with no GPS or anything to what it is now. And the even further is even better. But in a way, we're not going to be able to cut ourselves out. So we're going to have human interaction with it. So training us is a pretty important thing. Like you said, husbandry tasks, like Luke said, is a main thing. It's still going to be in agriculture.
So it'll be a blend of people and tech going forwards. And
Yeah.
you've seen that evolution over the last 20 years. It's going to be even faster in the next 20 maybe.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like Fred said, I think the GPS and all that is a brilliant idea, but for farms that can't afford or aren't progressing as fast as others, it's definitely, like at college, learning about it is important for them, as is a big step forward. And if they don't learn about it, then it could be a big disadvantage for them, like not being able to know about it.
Brilliant. So you're not saying because your principal is 10 feet away, but you're saying that your college is equipping you for the best future in farming. Brilliant.
Yeah, and that's absolutely what it's about. So Dorset and West Dorset in particular is a mosaic of very small farms in many cases. And one of the things that we're seeing develop is that these guys here, who've run away very quickly, has to be said, these guys here come from Dorset or Wiltshire or Hampshire, and they are working in the environment in which we have. And so tech is part of the solution, but also understanding how to use that tech for good, both for improving food production, food security, but also in terms of environmental impact. So if you can reduce your environmental impact, ensure that farms are profitable, then what we will have is resilient rural communities, which is absolutely part of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for that, Luke. Really, really helpful. And thank you to the guy who came forwards and volunteered. Sam.
We do have one more question that I've got from the audience. I think it's really important to the point they made around the human element of tech, and it's not always about the snazzy things, it's about the people behind it and making sure it's designed around their needs as well. We've got the mic's been passed over to you.
Thanks very much. I had the privilege of working on the radio aspects of that robot. One of the things I'd like to ask Kingston Maurward, do you see a benefit to the young people as a result of things like the use of new innovative semiconductors, chipsets, and the new radio spectrum that we can now make available for farming, all of which has come off the back of the Dorset Council 5G project work they've been doing? Just interested in your views.
Yeah, well, we have a 5G mast as part of that project on the estate, and certainly, we're only 10, 15 minutes from the Winforth Enterprise Zone here, which is supported by the council and the LEP, which I also work with. And I think for the young people, for the students going on here, employable. As a result, they are understanding how the software integrates with technology, understanding how hardware works in a different way to, as those lads were saying 20 years ago when it was much more mechanistic. We're seeing a different form of technology develop. And I think one of the exciting things for Dorset is the opportunity for us to be at the forefront of that. Not just the place where you come on holiday and it's beautiful, it is what it is, but also a place that's genuinely leading the UK and internationally improving the society in which we live in. So there's a real opportunity. There's a massive benefit here.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Luke. And that's why we're doing Digital Dorset and showcasing everything that you can do here, not just come on holiday, as they say. Sam, back to you.
If we don't have any more questions in person, and I'm looking for a signal if we have any virtually, no, I will cut across to the next bit so we can head to the inside. Hi everyone, so welcome back to the festival. So I've got Vicky here from Jet Engineering. So first of all, like I spoke about earlier, let's go a quick question. What is aquaculture?
So agriculture is sort of sustainable food farming, but at sea. So you're growing sort of seaweed, shellfish, other fish communities in a sustainable way, so we're not harvesting natural crops.
And so what is it that Jet Engineering does? We spoke to you last year, you brought your boy down to Lyme Regis. Sadly, the wheel's broken off, so it can't come with us today, but can you tell us a bit more about Jet Engineering?
So at Jet, we are providing 5G at sea. So it's very similar to how you would have your mobile phone signal, but extending that beyond the normal terrestrial area to the water. So we can go far out at sea as needed. And we're really looking at creating more sustainable, smarter, safer operations in the blue economy, where they're kind of lacking at the moment. And 5G is helping us do that.
I like the 5G at sea, it's quite catchy.
Yeah.
I believe you have some footage of kind of your workplace, your office to show us. So if we could set that up and roll VT.
Hello and welcome to Jet Engineering System Solutions. We're very excited to show you some of our new workshop, and James is here to give you an overview of where the idea for Jet came from and to explore the two buoy platforms currently in our workshop.
Hi, I'm James Thomas, I'm the CEO of Jet Engineering System Solutions. So the idea came from, I was fortunate enough to be sailing. I was in the Irish Sea, and one of the things we found that was when we'd lost our engine, we'd lost our VHF, our standard traditional comms, and it became quite noticeable how much of an impact that had on us going sailing. And I went with, well, okay, where else is this a problem? It can't just be us on those little boats that's got this problem. It's got to be across the whole of the renewable sector that's working at sea, for example. This buoy here is our aquaculture system. So with our aquaculture system, we've got, as usual, the solar panels around it. We've not got the weather station as the optional extra. And we've got all our comms and power system in here. Subsurface is the interesting bit on this one. So subsurface, we've got two 4K cameras. This is streaming real-time data over 5. So this particular buoy is useful to a lot of different people. The deployment we put this out for was for aquaculture. So this was for looking at seaweed growth. The two cameras underwater just over a metre apart. That enabled some AI to be done on the images, so we can start to work out, is the seaweed growing, is the seaweed ready for harvesting? So this is our test platform for floating base stations. So this is a small test rig that we're using at the moment. This has got about 1 kilowatt of solar on it, and this is enabling us to test and trial floating 5G base stations at sea. So someone might use 5G at sea for a lot of different applications. We think that there's a lot of work within the offshore renewables and accelerating the deployment of offshore renewables. Installation phases, for example, so that you can install your offshore wind a lot safer, a lot quicker and a lot easier. There's also a lot of use cases around shipping. So there's now legislation around welfare and shipping that continuous comms is required. We want to make that cheap and available to everyone so that everyone has the ability to contact their loved ones. So what's next for Jet is we're building and we're finalising and building the next size up. So we're taking this floating test rig into an actual floating piece of infrastructure. They're substantially larger, substantially more powerful, and designed to survive off the coast of Scotland in the middle of winter.
So it's a really interesting behind the scenes look at some of the stuff you've been doing in Jet.
Yeah.
And sadly you haven't got one of your boys with us today, but can you tell us a bit more about some of the boys you have and maybe your plans for future growth?
Yeah, so what we started off with was, thanks to the 5G Raw Dorsal project, we started off with a smaller platform which measured sort of aquaculture and seaweed growth. We've then shifted up to a bigger platform which has enabled us to create a 5G base station, the world first one, floating out at sea, which enables that sort of mesh connectivity that we're looking at. It's very similar to an on-land 5G network. and now we're actually getting bigger and better. We realised that we need, slightly bigger platforms to survive the North Sea and the Celtic Sea and the sea out between the channels. So what we're looking at getting is much bigger platforms, much more sensors, so we can capture as much data out there as possible. There's currently this inherent lack of data at sea, so we're looking at really, really improving that through this platform and through this network that we're looking at scaling up as much as possible.
And I believe you have some footage from one of the boys showing some seaweed.
Yeah, so we deployed the smaller buoy as part of the 5G Rural Dorset project and captured some 4K video footage of seaweed growth out of the
Should we have a look at that now? Roll VT. Great. So I think that's it for questions. Is there anything you wanted to cover about jet engineering and the 5G boys before we go on to the next segment?
From a personal view, I think it's a fantastic opportunity for 5G at sea, and I think what we'd love to see is some more use cases coming through and working with councils and contractors at sea to really take the network to the full potential. We've got a lot coming forward.
Great. Don't go anywhere. There might be some 5G or boy-related questions coming up later on, but for now, I'm going to hand over to Luke, who's going to talk, think, do. So I'll hand over the mics in a seamless transition.
Thanks for that, Sam. So welcome, Talk, Think, Do. It's really, really good to have you here because we've seen some very large tech this morning. And one of the things that, of course, is hiding behind the background of all of those is the software and the technology that makes that work. And we're going to look at that in the context of agriculture and land management. And to start with, we're just going to run a small video segment about myth busting, about how there may be some sort of preconceptions about what software or computers can actually do, given that we're talking about the natural environment and animals. So we're just going to watch a short video, and then we'll take some questions. Okay, we're just going to go straight to the questions then, and why not? So welcome to Kingston Maurward. Love to have you here today. Talk a little bit about Talk, Think, Do and the work that you do, and then maybe we'll explore with the audience how we can use that in the modern agricultural world.
Thank you. So we build software for the very backbone of a company. So if you like, operational core software. So what that means is I work with some highly intelligent, socially awkward colleagues who are very clever. That's the typical view of what somebody's like in IT, but actually people need to be very creative and innovative, thoughtful, and actually many people feel that IT is an industry that you can't enter later in life, but actually because IT and the landscape of technology is constantly changing, what you don't know today matters less than what you can learn and take on later. So we would encourage people to get into technology. We all use it every day, and it's very open, and there's a burning need for greater IT skills. Dorset and the BCB conurbation is a hotbed of technical excellence, but still we need more. So what the kind of work that we're currently doing and where we see technology helping support agriculture, everybody knows, I think, about the generations of innovation that have supported agricultural growth. We've had mechanization, then we had chemical engineering, and this is known, of course, as the fourth transformational period using technology. Where it becomes particularly useful is where there's scale. So, for example, at the moment, moving animals, herds of animals around the country, it would be really useful, like you do for your cat or your dog, if they had a digital passport. A dairy cow lives for 20 years. How can we manage that data? What can we learn from it? How does that help us care, look after the animals? At present, if you've got a few chickens like I do, you get an email telling us to be biosecure because of bird flu. Can technology help map where those outbreaks are? Can we see where we can raise our game or anticipate those kind of outbreaks? Again, it's big, it's lots of data, but it's helping look after animal welfare in the community. And as was said earlier by your good self, we have limited resources when it comes to agriculture. So technology can really help with the management of that. So I believe they talk about yield plateaus. So in staple diets, the wheat and the rice, they're plateauing in terms of how much production they can eke out of the land that we have. So technology can help take that next step in improving yields. An example would be in America, where they grow almonds. It's very intensive in its water usage. Now they use Internet of Things devices into the soil, cloud linked to a data lake or engine that is investigated by AI, and that can actually affect the amount of water and the production of the almonds and improve the yield and reduction of water in both camps. So you use 20% less water, so that reduces that cost, but at the same time yield more of your almonds. So it's these kind of fine gains where technology can help. And behind that, you've got to have software, you've got to have software architects, and you've got to have people who are prepared to try and innovate and break new ground. So we've been working with a division of DEFRA and other organizations as to how you can use this data to inform decision making and make operations more effective. So it's quite exciting to be here amongst the stands of oaks and beech trees and see technology already being at use. Hear the young students talk about GPS enablement. A friend of mine had a honeymoon recently. He went strangely up to Scotland to stay in a bothy, and there were the wild cattle up in the hills, GPS tagged so that they could be looked after and cared for. So again, these are obvious examples, but over the next 5, 10, 15 years, we're really looking at using technology, software, and especially the cloud to try and use artificial intelligence to really power decision making and see where greater efficiencies can be made in farming.
That's fantastic. So in terms of when we're talking about education and Digital Dorset, and we're talking about a festival of the future and how we get young people and people who are reskilling into your industry, what are the sorts of skills that you're looking for someone coming perhaps out of sixth form or university in Dorset for you?
So again, there are different areas of IT where you need different skill sets. So somebody who could maybe have a design flair would be really useful at creating the front end of software to make it usable and user-friendly. On the other hand, you might have somebody who has more of a mathematical leaning. They would be great for data and for working with databases and the like. So there's a real cross-section, but it's one of those things. It's worth trying, it's worth talking to the Dorset champions, see what avenues there are for either apprenticeships or a workplace student, just to try it, see what they think, meet the team, see if you can understand the people. But it's a broad skill set. As long as you can learn and you're creative and you're adaptable, then IT is a great avenue.
Absolutely, and has so many applications across different sectors, of course. And one of the things we talk about as educators when we're doing careers advice for young people is that the passions that you have and the skills that you have are applicable in so many different areas. And one of the lovely things about today is that we've been able to see how different components of technology can interlink in a particular industry such as agriculture and land management, and of course looking after nature as well, which is part of the deal. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Talk Think Dig. Really, really good to have you here. So, Sam, I believe it's now a bit of a question and opportunity time. They've left me in front of the mic and in front of the camera, which was fatal. And, we're just going to do a bit of Q&A now.
So we do have some questions that have come in. Vicky, if you want to come back, we have had a question around 5G and what the range of the buoys are. If you want to take that question.
Yeah, so currently we use the 700 megahertz spectrum, and that gives us a range between each buoy of 15 kilometers at present with our current size. That might increase as we increase the size of the buoys, but at the moment, between every one is 15K, so you can go as far out as needed.
Great, thank you. Is the catch box working? Do we know? No? Okay, that's fine. Any more questions from... There's a question over here.
So I have a question from a gentleman that says, in terms of the skills shortage and thinking about the ISO 7-layer stack, so very technical, but in terms of where do we think the skills shortage is in particular when it comes to technology? Is there anything you might be able to hone in on there? Is it developers? Is it, what do you want to take that? Are you happy to take that?
Yes, there is a, thank you for the question. There is a shortage of developers across all technology stacks. So effectively, there's an urgency to try and get people skilled up and into the industry. Again, there are different entry points. So somebody could come into an organization maybe as a business analyst. They could come in as a delivery manager, project manager, and then become more familiar with different projects and skill sets. But the shortage is quite extreme. We're very fortunate in Dorset. We have a great university, so that's wonderful, but it's retaining that talent here, I think, is the challenge.
Great, thank you. And unless there's any more, we haven't had any more virtual questions come in.
I've got a couple, and I'm about to bring you back in. So Dorset was identified a couple of years ago as an area of potential, really high potential opportunity in aquaculture. And Dorset Council worked with Dorset Lab to get that working through the Department for International Trade. But aquaculture is not something that is not on everybody's lips, is a thing. So just talk through aquaculture as where you think that might be going, because clearly the sea around Dorset is a huge resource that we could tap.
Yeah, no, I think aquaculture is vitally important. So I've got a coastal background, so I understand a lot of the coastal processes that occur and the current threat of climate change, overfishing, etc. So I think aquaculture is vitally important that we get that driving, we get that going. We can find a way to increase stock, increase yield, increase monitoring, because it's going to be something that is super vital if we want to keep a sustainable fishing practice, a sustainable economy around that. Whilst also maintaining our really diverse biodiversity and species that we have around the coast here at Dorset. So yeah, I think it's got a really, really good potential. I think it's something that's really increasing and driving constantly. So yeah, I think the future is really looking really good for it. And if we can sort of increase this monitoring like we do with our buoys, we can really ensure that, you know, aquaculture farms aren't wiped out by illness, without disease, algae, etc. And yeah, so it's looking really good for it.
Fantastic. And aquaculture has a much lower carbon footprint than
Yeah.
sort of some other forms of agriculture and protein production.
It's also a fantastic carbon sink. So seaweed growth, kelp growth, etc. It's a great way of, you know, capturing that carbon that we're currently releasing. It's much more efficient than tree growth, etc. And also it's multi-use. You can capture the carbon, use the aquaculture crop, regrow it. It grows so fast. Yeah, it's a great potential.
Fantastic, and real opportunity for Dorset there. So Sam, I think that's pretty much nearly it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's all we've got for questions. So that's all we've got time for, I'm afraid. So thanks so much for our speakers, some of which are here, some of which are hanging about in the field. Thanks to Kingston Maurward for letting us host. Thanks to our sponsors, Talk Think Do, Key Digital and Tailwind Digital. Luke, over to you.
Well, it's been really nice to have you here today at Kingston Maurward. It's been a beautiful day. Thanks ever so much to Sam and the team, the technical team, and Matt, everybody here at Dorset Council. We're going to have a beef bit of lunch. If you're watching online, I suggest you do the same. But Matt, any final thoughts from you?
Well, I don't know about you, everybody, but my mind's been blown with a methane-driven tractor that is in the field behind us, as well as autonomous tractors for 5G buoys and aquaculture. It's been a great morning. I've learnt a lot, and I hope you have too. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget to sign up to for the other festival showcases throughout the week and catch up on the recordings on the Digital Dorset YouTube channel. That's the end of the morning. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.